The time is nigh. The age of suffering shall now commence. The 10th entry into the shamefully abused Hellraiser franchise has been released. Hellraiser Judgment is here. You know, the completionist in me knew that I would have to review this after spending all that time suffering, for lack of a better term, my way through all 9 Hellraiser films that existed at the time. I just can't go to my grave leaving a Hellraiser film unreviewed. So, let's start with the obvious. That's not Pinhead. Doug Bradley took yet another pass on this one. I will say that this discount Pinhead looks way better than the bargain basement bootleg Pinhead we got in Revelations. He sounds better too. Gone is the nasally, overworked math teacher voice of bootleg Pinhead. It's been replaced, honestly, with a pretty subpar imitation of Doug Bradley. I mean, it's sad that that constitutes an upgrade, but in this case it does. The Cenobites are similarly lame. This cut-face guy's makeup looks like one of those expensive masks you see at the discount Halloween superstore. You know the one. $275 price tag on it. Nobody's buying it because it's cool, but it's not that cool. Chatterer is back, and it's sadly the same story. His mouth doesn't even chatter anymore. It's just a bad latex mask. So what's the hook, eh? Well, Judgment starts with a conversation between Pinhead and our new star Cenobite, cut-face dirty suit over here. Anyway, they're chatting away like a couple of old ladies in a sewing circle about the good old days when humans used to be successfully lured by the puzzle box. Nowadays, with smartphones and the internets, the lament configuration just isn't cutting it anymore. But fear not, Pinhead has a master plan to get the Cenobites back in the torture game. It involves having his lackey Cutface hand type a letter to the intended victim and snail mail it to them? Yeah, that's right. The creepy letter format is exactly as follows. Good evening, Mr. Zigo. We know, we understand, and we can help. But you must come now, before it's too late. Come now. Come to 55 Ludovico Place. Alone. Now. Signed, a sympathetic friend. Is it just me, or is this the goddamn worst strategy ever? The puzzle box worked because it was an interesting little gadget to pick up and fiddle with. I mean, sure, maybe it's a little outdated. Maybe they could have spruced it up by making a lament fidget spinner or some shit, you know, appeal to the new generation. Hey, it may sound stupid, but it would work a lot better than mailing a creepy letter to someone and hoping that they walk alone into your dilapidated, boarded up murder house. What happens to people in the house is another story, and unfortunately it makes even less sense. So just bear with me, folks. I'm gonna walk you through it. So, you show up to the house, the Cenobites jump you, knock you out, and strap you to a chair. No, I'm not kidding. When you come to, you're tied up across from a desk manned by Mr. Cutface. He begins to question you about all your sins, St. Peter style, and he types out all your answers on an old-fashioned typewriter. Once he's got all your sins in a neat stack of paper, he gets up and leaves the room. Shortly, a big fat dude walks in. Not a Cenobite, just a big fat dude with floppy-ass man boobs. He sits down on the desk, pulls out a knife and fork, and begins to eat the stack of paper containing all your sins. When he's done, he walks over to a sink in the corner and happily pukes into it. That puke is piped into another room where it gets sprayed into the faces of 3 chained-up female Cenobites with their titties out. They eat it. They enjoy it. And finally, you're ready to be tortured as usual. I mean, we haven't even begun talking about the main plot line of the movie yet. I just had to attempt to explain Pinhead's new system to all of you because I have no idea how it's supposed to be easier or more efficient than letting people fiddle with a fucking puzzle box. Moving on, Judgment follows a team of detectives. 2 of them, for whatever reason, are brothers. It doesn't really add anything to the plot, but there it is. The 3rd member of the team is a lady detective. The 3 of them are chasing, you guessed it, serial killer. Great. So it's the old Hellseeker, Deader plotline again. I'm so glad they didn't try something new or original for the franchise. The serial killer calls himself the Preceptor, which sounds like some nerd's Warhammer 40k LARP character. It's actually an order of magnitude worse than the engineer from Hellseeker, and boy is that saying something. The Preceptor, like all good serial killers, has a gimmick. His modus operandi is killing people in creative ways based on the Ten Commandments. Wait just a fucking minute, really? Did they really just blazingly rip off the plotline of Seven, just switching out the 7 deadly sins with the 10 commandments? Yep, and the ripoff doesn't stop there. I simply can't overstate how hard this movie is trying to be Seven. The dreary, rain-soaked atmosphere, the dank, dimly lit murder scenes, the montages of the detectives puzzling over gory crime scene photos while driving industrial music plays in the background. It's totally blatant and totally devoid of subtlety, creativity, or shame. Anyway, the Preceptor's murder scenes are pretty lame too. The two I remember most are Idolatry and Thou Shalt Not Steal. For Idolatry, he kills a chick and sews her little dog, who she loved above all things, into her womb. The detectives discover it when they hear it whining inside of her. It's gruesome and might have been a cool, memorable moment were it not in this shitty film. For Thou Shalt Not Steal, the Preceptor cuts a bunch of thieves' hands off and makes a little display out of them. In one of the movie's lamer moments, the girl detective opens up one of the hands to reveal an eyeball and a bloody tooth. She looks at the other detectives and says,
"Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth."
Fucking really, Sherlockina Holmes? Damn, that symbolism was gonna fly right over my head. I'm so glad that you sussed that out for us. Guess that's why you're making the big detective bucks. There is a twist, and if you've seen any of the other movies or have any ability at all to see blatant foreshadowing, you'll probably guess it. Drum roll, please. The moody older brother detective is the Preceptor. Oh my god, holy shit, no way, fuck it, who cares? Towards the end, Detective Preceptor is lured to Pinhead's creepy murder shack and gets grilled by Cutface. His sins are apparently so vile that they choked the big fat guy who eats them, causing him to puke blood. Before Pinhead can start torturing him, and I wish I was kidding, a fucking angel shows up. I shit you not, in the form of some obscure porn actress chick in a provocative white suit that proudly displays her ample cleavage. She tells Pinhead that God doesn't want the detective killed, that even though he's clearly evil and means to do people harm, he has a bigger role to play in God's plan, whatever that is. Pinhead lets the Preceptor go, and soon after that, the lady detective begins to catch on to him. Thankfully, she's sharp enough to pick on the detective's totally subtle habit of constantly quoting the Bible and finally puts 2 and 2 together. He tries to kill them when he's confronted, but everyone gets abducted by Pinhead, who's tired of that angel bitch pushing him around. He kills the brother detective along with the Preceptor's wife. When the angel shows up to scold him for doing it, he kills her too. God then punishes Pinhead for his transgressions by banishing him to the ultimate torture. He turns him human and dumps him in the middle of a city. Oh, the sweet suffering!
The sweet suffering.
And that's it. 10 Hellraiser movies. Yet another recycled serial killer cop drama with a half-assed sprinkling of Hellraiser to sweeten the shitty-ass deal. I'll say this, Judgment is a far better movie than its direct predecessor. As bad as Judgment is, and make no bones about it, it's real bad.
She's
It never reaches Revelations level shittiness. Before I let you go, there is a post-credits scene. It shows a couple of Mormon missionaries in Germany where I didn't even know there were Mormons, and they ride their bikes up to this creepy old house. They knock, hoping to share God's good word, and Cutface answers, inviting them in. That's it. So I guess the sequel will involve Cutface torturing some German Mormons. Cool. I'll review that. And hey, if you enjoyed this, give it a like, subscribe, hit your alerts so you know when the new shit hits. Consider checking out my Patreon down below if you want to get some cool exclusive extras. And I will talk to all of you next time. Peace.